Hello everyone and welcome to Grimoir Sunday. With me, your creative coach and your creative wizard, and I've got my Grimoire here today. And today I thought we'll look a little bit into numerology. That is so interesting. But before we get started, let's light a flame of hope and creativity for the world. And there we have it, may all beings benefit. Now, this is getting exciting as I spent a little bit more time on a Sunday in my grimoire. And in case you've missed it, we've already done our candle magic, both pages, and it was so interesting to explore the meaning and energy and frequency of colors in candles and using that for activating and supporting your manifestation work and just using the energy as a practical creative magic in your life. Now today, I think it is time to look at a bit of numerology because there are a few sort of recent events in my personal life surrounding my date of birth that was just very interesting. Now, you might know that I've recently had my birthday on the 13th of October, and in my research and observations lately, I've noticed that on my birthday this year, we literally had the moon in a perfect half in light, half in shadow. So talk about balance in Libra. And then also the full moon in September also fell on a beautiful date that also brought me back to the number 13 somehow. And when I sort of saw this interesting TikTok video about the number 13, it was just serendipity, synchronicity, and very interesting correlation of information. And I thought I must look into it again because buried deep in our subconscious mind, we've been lied to our entire life about the number 13. It's very interesting to note that in certain hospitals there is no room 13. In certain airliners there is no seat number 13. In some buildings, there is no floor, 13th floor. So the number 13 has got a very bad rep. It's been labeled as evil, as a gateway for darkness. It's been labeled as unlucky and even dangerous to go outside on something like Friday the 13th. It would be interesting for me to hear what is your limiting beliefs about the number 13, because this has blown this whole idea for me out of the water. Now, because I was born on 13th of October, I always sort of de-associated with the mainstream ideas about 13 because I'm living proof, and my daily walk with the number 13 it's a completely different experience to what the world taught me. And when I really dived in a little bit deeper into the number 13, I came up with a lot of information that is far more supportive and nurturing and wise than ever led us to believe in the past. So maybe you've also absorbed a lot of lies about the number 13, and I hope that my grimoire entry in my grimoire today will change your mind about it. Now, I personally do love numerology. You might know I even have my own numerology divination card set, oracle deck that I tend to use in my divination. And I'm always just so blown away with the accuracy of numerology if done correctly and if understood. And it is an amazing tool that you can use to explore your own name and your date of birth and also to look at possible vibrations and energies that can be available to you in the future by simply calculating it. So this is always been quite an accurate way for me to look at personality psychology and personality traits of a person, working on the numbers of their name or their full name and surname, which I do prefer because sometimes your maiden name has a certain frequency, but when you get married, you change your destiny literally by marrying and taking on either the surname of your husband, or like in our case, we combined our surnames, and that has an impact on the energy that is available to you every time your name or surname is spoken. So I'm going to dive deep a little bit with you guys while I sort of begin to just color in my book and sort of finish off this page and add some beautiful trinkets and decoration. So the number 13 I would love to share with you guys, but before I start sharing, let me first share what I'm going to be doing with this page. I brought out my watercolor pencils to give that a little bit of a go in my grimoire. And I've spent the morning writing all the information that I want to record about numerology. And I've already written it out in my own hand. Aren't you proud of me? I didn't print it, I wrote it. I just realized that even though the printed forms is really beautiful, and I've said this before, it's really lovely. And I think I've played it safe by doing my directions and calling in the directions and my grimoire blessing prayer. I felt so intimidated to get started in this grimoire that I decided to print it and put it in there. And that's perfectly okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I do want to encourage you to really embrace your own handwriting in your grimoire, because that's what makes it so deeply personal, explorative, and profoundly powerful. Because when you read information in your own hand, it really, really takes it into your system. When we just look at things that is printed, we can very easily disassociate from the information, especially if it makes us feel a bit uncomfortable because it's too close to the truth, right? Okay, so I've got my watercolor pencils here. I'm just going to be decorating this 13 while I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of information about the number 13, and we'll take it from there. So this is my sort of way to journal and to bring creativity into my journal, and just relating everything here to being a creative wizard and inviting you guys to enter the world of creative practical magic with me and see how you can use this insight, information, and practice to transform your life one page at a time, right? Okay, so I'm going to be playing with the 13. So I'm thinking I just want to color this up and really enjoy it. But I'm going to maybe start to color in around the 13, and I'm thinking I'm going to be using a black watercolor pencil. Right. So the color 13, listen to me. The number 13 is really a profound number. And when you begin to sort of hear, why we've been lied to about the number 13 so much, it will actually blow your mind. So one of the first things that I learned about the number 13 is that nature runs on the number 13. I think with the advent of the modern calendar, where we've got 1 to 30 and then 1 to 31 every month, alternating like that, we've become so accustomed to a modern day calendar that we forgot that in days of old, we didn't use the modern day calendar that we've got. We actually used the moon cycles. It was so profound that even our farmers worked with the moon cycle to know exactly when to plant and when to water and when to harvest with the seasons and so forth. And when you divide the year into perfect 4 seasons, you will notice that each quarter of the year is exactly 13 weeks. And when you do that 4 times, then you end up with a full cycle year that might not always correlate with modern calendars, because every fourth year or so we do have that extra day in the year to try and make up on our calendars for this additional day and cycle that somehow comes back to us. So that was the modern day sort of way to deal with this odd number, because it was more logical to work with the number 12. But without going into too much history, because I'm not a history bottom, but the reality of the matter is, when Christianity took over the world, a lot of things has been twisted and turned upside down for the sake of control, because the leaders of the early church was petrified of all the empowered people around them, and they needed to use fear and fear-mongering as a way to control the masses. Because remember, the church and government was one. It was on the king's head, and we know all the stories about the Crusades and what that meant as we changed the world in the age of Pisces, from the divine feminine and understandings and empowerment of that, and we switched over to a patriarchal male version of the world. And with that, a lot of truth and female empowerment and energy and wisdom was buried, was killed off, was totally put into darkness, so that the Christian light could shine bright over the world. And there's nothing wrong with that faith. It is not, this is not an episode against anything. It's just part of our history. It's part of our story of humanity up until now. So now we are beginning to remember subtle energies and interesting insights and truths that was thwarted and twisted through fear and people that didn't really understand the power of a lot of the things that was suppressed. And the number 13 is one of them. And I think because I was born under the number 13, I always sort of wanted to liberate this number from this eternal damnation of being an unlucky number, because I certainly do not associate with any unluck around this number. And doing this research recently in my on my birthday, and how it came to me, was just so empowering and life affirming for me, because it just sort of supported exactly what I've always believed about the number 13. And then it turned out to be a little bit more factual than I realized. So the moon orbits the earth not 12 times, people. There's not one full moon a month. Every now and again there's 2 full moons in 1 month. And so the moon circles the earth 13 times. A woman's body goes through 13 cycles a month. Our DNA code has very interesting helix patterns that is repeated in the molecular structure 13 times. The zodiac once had 13 signs, not 12. And the 13th sign in the zodiac was Ophiuchus. And that's interesting that it was just cut out of astrology, even though the planetary connection with this 13th star sign still swings around our planet. and has its impacts. And we also have Mary Magdalene, who was the 13th apostle, but because she was a woman, the church didn't want that recognition to her. And her story basically is mentioned in scriptures and in the Bible, but she's not mentioned as an apostle, even though she played such a massive role in the early church and in remembering the story of Christ and telling it from a higher perspective of Christ consciousness and the wisdom that lies in that, rather than just the story that we are told from the patriarchal God is a man kind of point of view. So that is really, really powerful. Now, again, I'm not expecting you to agree with everything I'm sharing here. You're entitled to your opinion and view on these things, but this is how I sort of gathered some information, and this is what I resonate with, and it's going into my grimoire, and I'm sharing it with you guys. So you are always welcome to edit anything out that makes you feel uncomfortable or that doesn't resonate with your truth. Honestly, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to demonstrate to you that a creative process can liberate you when you explore your own shadow side a little bit and look at things that you believe in your core and really investigate it and ask yourself, do I believe these things simply because I've been told this numerous times from numerous sources? Doesn't make it a fact, doesn't make it the truth. The Buddha has always encouraged us to question everything and to research it and to ask our spirit whether we resonate with it or not, and then to follow that truth in our heart and move forward. So the number 13 appears in the Fibonacci code, which is found in nature all around us. And the same goes for the number 5. So these uneven numbers is found in the spirals of life. It is found in seed pods. It is found in our cells. It is found in the way that plants grow. It's absolutely astounding when you look at the numerology or the mathematics that you find in the Fibonacci code. And from a macroscopic point of view, when you look at the universe, you find the same math there, all the way down to the microscopic world. You find the same mathematical patterns repeating, and that is absolutely astonishing. So while that is going, I'm just lightly coloring in here with my watercolor pencil, and I'm just allowing the pencil to guide me through this coloring process and filling it in a little bit. And the minute I feel ready to switch to another color, then I will do that. So I'm just intensifying the shadow around the number 13 so that when I come over it with water, then we have a little bit more intensity closer to the actual number. Here we go. Right, what else? Natural time in the world connects with 13. The cycles of the moon, the earth, our bodies, and the seasons connect with the number 13. Number 13 brings us back into balance. Fascinating. No wonder we've been lied about the number 13, because it was intended to throw us off balance and to let us forget that when we are in balance, we are empowered. When we unbalanced, it's easy to be pushed over by outside opinions, forces, and ideas. So 13 is a very grounding and balancing force, because if you add 3 and 1 together, you get 4, and that's a very grounding, stable, earth-like force. So 13 is not bad luck. It's got nothing to do with luck. It is a forgotten code of the universe. It is an activation code. It's a code of remembrance. And 13 is also in the Mayan calendar. And you know that the Mayan cultures was incredible with astrology and observing the heavens. And they realized that 13 is literally a galactic tone. And when you look at their cycles, and the sacred cycle that they have is 260 days. And then when you look at that, it is 20 times 13.13 exactly. And then there is this incredible balance and repetition in our galaxy. 13 is also found in the Kabbalah, and it means unity in Hebrew. And when you look at that word for 13, it is Achad, and that also means one. So 13 and 1 is spoken about as unity, not division, unity. And then we also have the 13th card in the tarot deck, the classic tarot deck, is the card of death. Now, this card does not mean physical death. It represents transformation and sudden change. So 13 is also about embracing change and transformation. When you look at the number 13 in sequence, it is literally 12 plus 1. And 12 is a completion number. And then 13 is that extra step, the next step that completely changes cycles and patterns. And if I look at the story of my life through the lens of the number 13, then it's very interesting for me to see that my entire life story and purpose is all about embracing change, transformation, breaking cycles, breaking patterns of habitual behavior that keeps us locked in the same experience. And long before I could even vocalize what it is that is happening in my life, I'll have to write a memoir about my life for you to really understand that. But I was born in a Christian home with Christian parents, and I was born gay into a life and into a world where, a sexual identity and orientation like homosexuality was deeply frowned upon. And with my core sort of belief system that I was raised in, everything that I'm sort of dealing with in my life, everything that I had to rewrite in my life was things that needed to change. The bloodline of my family, I've decided and I realized through my research, has to end with me. There's reasons why it ends with me, why I didn't get married and had more children, because there's just so much sins of the forefathers that will end with me. I will not share it into a bloodline and into the future. Those cycles and patterns are cut, and they are literally stopped in their track. And the choices and changes that I've made through my life, through the numerology that's present in my names, in my date of birth, and also in my life path, is absolutely about ending cycles and beginning a new cycle that is free from karmic loops and patterns that keeps on repeating until now. And this for me is a liberation, not only for me, but for my entire family lineage, because the buck stops here, and everything, my entire legacy that I'm leaving behind is the transmutation within me and within my life through taking what really no longer serves, that's kept me bound in lies and in poverty and in suffering and in shame and in guilt and in playing small is over. I refuse for those frequencies and energies to continue and to spill over into another generation. So yes, it wasn't a tough decision to do that. It's just sort of the way that it rolled out with my life choices and with who I am as a soul and what I came here to accomplish and came here to do. So this is really, really a profound insight into the number 13, and I just had to share it. And that's why it's getting a whole page in my grimoire. Now, numerology is the belief that, or in a mystical relationship between numbers and events, and it is also the study of numerological values of letters in words and names. It uses a person's name and date of birth to calculate core numbers such as the life path number, which are believed to reveal personality traits, life lessons, and potential. These numbers can be used to gain self-awareness and direction in life. That is really, really profound. Okay. So, if you take the number system from 1 to 9, we're going to skip the 0 for this exercise because it doesn't have any value. So it's 1 to 9, and then obviously 10 would be a new number combining 1 with a 0. But if you take the alphabet and you add it into these codes, so A, B, C would be 1, 2, 3. So you go through the whole alphabet, and when you get to 9, you start over again with J under 1, all the way through to R under 9, and then the last row of the alphabet is again from 1 with S all the way to 8 with Z. So then it gives you these sort of columns of numerological value for each little letter in the alphabet. And I did a whole exercise here in my grimoire with my full name. So my full names are Gideon, Johannes, Bushket, Krokamp. Okay, and this is now my married double barrel surname. And you add the value of each number and you add them all together, you will come to a number. That number you have to add again to each other, and you keep doing that until you end with a single digit. Okay, the same for my surname. So adding all these numbers together, and you keep adding them together until you end with a single number. So for me, the number 6 is the number that is contained in my full name, Gideon Johannes Bushket Krokamp. So that's the name that's on my ID card. Now, number 6 reveals a personality that is nurturing, responsible, and supportive, often associated with service to others, empathic caregiver, duty towards family and friends, creative with an artistic mind. That is me in a nutshell. So it's just so interesting for me to look at the number 6 and to recognize that it is a number that is in my name, and this is the essence or vibration that it is carrying. Now, a very interesting thing for me to note was that during the writing of the numerological value of my numbers, I recognized master numbers in my name. In Johannes, there is a 555, and in combining my married name with my maiden name, I end up with the number 55, which is another master number over here. So you always look for repeating numbers in any of these exercises, because repeating numbers like 55, 11, or 555 is what we call master numbers. Now, 555 Over here, I'm just going to make this red or orange because I want it to stand out. And here I have a result of 55. And here I'm just going to color this in so that it's the same, so it makes that connection with the color. Right, so 55 is a double number or master number, and it represents significant change, transformation and adaptability with massive financial shifts. Now, if I look at my life, the minute that I got married to my husband, my whole life changed financially, and with the weight that I carried before by myself, I now have a partner in my life that I can share that burden with, and we support each other. So if that's not an incredible shift, I don't know what else could represent that. And then my entire life, well, just getting married to my husband is already a significant change. It is transformational and adaptable. There was definite an adaptation that was brought along with my marriage, and how beautiful that energy came into my life. So I'm so grateful for my husband, and yeah, it's a nice way to celebrate here in my grimoire how our names came together. And then 555, 555 is an angel number. And the angel number is all about your entire life, looking at that. So again, embrace change, shifts, opportunities for adventure, new experiences and freedom. And it's part of larger cycles of transformation, meaning on soul level. So I'm literally changing stars. I am literally stepping out of an old paradigm with old cycles, old world, quantum jumping into a new reality with my soul. It's the completion of karmic cycles. It is done. It is now the beginning of new cycles, because those debts are paid in full, and immediately those weights and burdens drop off. And now was literally the time this week that I got the message that exactly now, with my recent birthday and in completion this week, tomorrow is the new moon. This week has been transformational, not only for me, but I think for everyone on the planet. But it literally was the message that cycles have now completed. You've stepped into a new reality, and I'm literally wearing a new hat in my life. I mean, if you know me well, you will know exactly what I mean. So it's so profound to see how these numbers relate and how they show up. Now I noticed there's a double 3 in my surname that I didn't recognize. Well, I did then when I did it, but I didn't do my research yet, so I will have to look at the number 33 as well. And I will add that information maybe to the description of this video. So each number has a corresponding meaning, and I really took it into a nutshell because I think you can write books about, numerology. So number 1 would be a primal force of unity, leadership. It's also a male energy. It's the beginning. 2 is diplomatic and creative forces. 3 is creative and communicative forces. So this double 3 then could be, a double meaning of creative communication, and that's already in my surname. And number 4 is the builder, and it's a grounding force. Number 5 is adventurous and freedom force. Number 6 is nurturing and responsible force. Number 7 is introspective and spiritual thinker. Number 8 is powerful and ambitious leadership, and we also have that infinity movement in the energy. Number 9 is completion of cycles, humanitarian and universal wisdom. Number 10 is then the beginning and the end, the completion of cycles, and also the new beginning, cosmic order. It is also balance because it's male and female. And then 0 does have meaning, although not numerologically, but the 0 represents the female or the void through which everything is created. So that really becomes a very interesting exercise. And if you've never done a numerology reading for yourself, or get somebody that's got experience to do it for you, you can also reach out to me. I'm happy to do a reading for you. So just send me a direct message and I'll tell you what information you need to provide for me, and I will do a reading for you happily. Okay, so I wanted to just look at my life path number here, because that is so profound, because again it sort of hits the number 5. So I have it as a single digit, I have it as a double digit, and I have it as a triple digit in my names and in my birth date. So again, here we have the number 5 showing up. And the number 5 is now connecting with my birth date, the date of my birth, and it reveals an adventurous, versatile, and free-spirited individual who thrives on change and new experiences, with a strong desire for personal freedom, and also entering careers that offers freedom and independence, also a highly adaptable personality. That is me in a nutshell. So that is part of my path, and the lessons for my path is to avoid restlessness, impulsive behavior, and to ground myself in adventure, be versatile, freedom-loving, curious, and to make sure that I have a purpose, because that anchors me. And this is also why my work here with you guys is so essential for me, because it forms part of this whole life lesson. And this is how I show up consistently. When I didn't have purpose and meaning in my life, I felt like a floating spirit that wasn't grounded, and I didn't find it easy to live my life. I found it quite difficult because I was confronted with constant change, and that made it very difficult for me. So the minute I found my purpose and recognized that I can get such profound, deep meaning out of it, that's the day everything changed for me. Right. I think I'm just going to color this in with a variety of colors that I enjoy. It's quite interesting to switch mediums. I'm very much used to liquid forms of art materials like watercolor and acrylic paint. So when I switch to structured art medium like pencils or oil pastels, markers, it's not something I enjoy a lot, and I could never understand that. And looking at my life path number, it makes sense to me, because I'm freedom loving and I like for things to flow in my life. I don't like a lot of restriction, but structured art material like a pencil, pastels, anything structured like this can be very useful to people that feels overwhelmed with life, that wants to control or feel safe in being in control. So that's a good place for you to start with art mediums, is to use something like an adult coloring book, and to use pencils to color in, because you can stay within the lines, and it doesn't feel so intimidating like liquid art materials could feel, like paint. Free flow art materials can really activate our emotional bodies, and it can really, especially for people that feel, intimidated by liquid mediums. That's maybe why you don't like liquid mediums, is because it's too much freedom, and it sort of activates a lot of emotional flow for you, and it could make you feel intimidated and like overwhelmed with all the possibilities that a free-flowing medium could offer you. So if that's you, then I will suggest you use structured forms like this. I don't always enjoy it, but I thought today I needed a little bit of structure to just show you guys. You can play with anything in your grimoire. There is no limitations. I think I'm gonna do the 13 in violet. Violet light. So I've already saved so many things on my cell phone. I think my cell phone notebook there is also an electronic grimoire. Bringing information and practice to your physical grimoire is something that's going to take time, and I don't want you to rush with your grimoire. I do want you to also really spend time with it and make it your own, and just flow with it. It really is, there's no rush. But I find that I've got more information coming to me at present moment than I have time to add it to my grimoire. So I didn't want this opportunity of the 13 to go past me, because you know how time flows. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And I've also got here somewhere, I took it out, one of my little stickers, and this one is a potion bottle with a moon, and the full moon is there, and this is a crescent moon, and then we've got Earth, and then all the planets. So seeing that this week was such a planetary alignment, and Pluto went direct in Aquarius, so we are literally in the age of Aquarius now. The age of Pisces is over, and with it comes new experiences, new energy. It might feel a little bit flip-floppy in the beginning, and this is that time. And I was just reminded, remember, when you begin to walk, we also fall. So we crawl first, and we learn to get up, and we fall over every now and again, but eventually we find our balance and our groove, and we can run. So now might be a time where you crawl a little bit, you get up, you fall down, just get up again and keep moving forward. And don't be scared, because there's going to be a lot of change all over the world in every aspect, and I don't think a lot of people are ready for that change. And I think that's why a lot of people is unplugging and leaving this planet, and also disengaging. I think their belief systems is falling apart, whether they want it to or not. The rug is literally being pulled from underneath our feet. And if you didn't do preparatory work for the shifts that is happening on the planet right now, this might be a little bit of a scary, tricky time, because everything that used to work no longer works. Everything that was plugged into old belief systems and world systems that was based on the age of Pisces is collapsing. And it's time for transformation. It's time to look at humanity as a whole, the Ubuntu spirit. What's good for one must be good for everyone. The whole idea of it's just us versus you, and we are the ones, the chosen ones, you guys must be made rid of. Those things are literally being brought to the surface, and we're seeing that extremisms and fascisms, and it's coming back up to the surface because the old world structures is being shaken, and it doesn't like it. It doesn't like that feeling of what we know or how the world was run up until now, which is not fair, and very few people benefited from it. It's being shaken to the core. So watch this space, because Pluto brings revolution, and it really just stepped into Aquarius with a bang. So here we are. I'm going to use my quill brush here in a little bit of water. Look at this beautiful little bookmark. And I'm just going to bring some water to this background, and I'm just going to allow it to flow. So here the structured art material transforms. Isn't that an interesting word at this time? Transforms, because I'm adding water to it, so it shifts from being a stable solid to being a flow. Nice. So what is your opinions, and if you have any questions, or if you want to add to any of the information that I've just shared with you guys, then please feel free to add in a comment below this video. If you have any questions, drop them there. I always check out if there's any questions or comments or somebody that needs some support. And if you don't mind, you're also welcome to share on the Creative Heart group on Facebook. I would love to hear what you guys think about the number 13. What's your relationship with the number 13? Do you know what is your life path number? And how does that information relate to your life? Do you recognize yourself in it, or have you disassociated from it? I think in the beginning, when I first sort of got the information about numerology, I was like, oh my god, I was very intimidated by it, because I didn't want to. It sort of clashed with what I was raised to believe about myself and my personality and, you know, what's lying ahead. But I'll never forget, my mother's passed on in 1994, but when I was born, she always, you know, when I was a young child, she always used to tell me that when I was born, there was a prophecy that was spoken over my life, and she was told that I would herald in great change, and that I would be a person of great influence, and I would be impacting a lot of lives. And as I grew up in my life, I always thought that meant that I would go into the clergy, or I would actually become, you know, maybe a minister. And I did actually study theology after school. I finished that whole training, and I did missionary work and a lot of pastoral work for a number of years in my life. And then everything shifted, and in those shifts, a lot of facades and face masks and ideas about my life literally dropped away. It was sudden change indeed. And I had no choice but to leave my parents' home and to enter the world as a young adult, and to try and figure out who the hell am I versus what the world told me I was supposed to be. And now, 50 odd years later, I've just turned 54, if you get to know me today, I'm a different person to who I grew up to be, in a sense that a lot of things dropped off. I dealt with it, a lot of shadow work, a lot of trauma healing work, a lot of self-recognition happened. And it was not an easy path up until this point. So my confidence, my knowledge, my groundedness in myself and who I am today, wearing a completely different hat to what was forced on my head when I came into this life, is evidence of this numerological impact in my life. And I can testify to its accuracy, and at least in my life. And I'm very excited to lean into it and to recognize the change that came into my life was necessary so that I can be more effective as a light worker and a person of creativity in this world that sorely needs this at this time when we are remembering who we were meant to be, not what the world told us to become. So hopefully that's helpful to you too, because I'm sure that you are also experiencing tremendous shifts, transformation, change, and I want to encourage you to lean into your own personal resilience and adaptability, and to allow the things that no longer serve you to drop away, and to open yourself to the new possibilities of what life is presenting you with at this stage in your life. So thank you for spending some time with me as I'm decorating my grimoire. I'll see you guys again next week Sunday for Grimoire Sunday. So thank you guys for spending some time with me. I'll see you guys again real soon. Stay tuned. Bye bye for now.